democracy is about to be renewed. Here at the East Portico of the Capitol will shortly be inaugurated the nation's chief executives, Harry S. Truman and Alvin Barkley. This is the 41st inaugural in our country's history, to be witnessed today by some 15,000 here on the Capitol Plaza, and for the first time in history, through the combined facilities of the television industry, made visible to millions of Americans throughout the land. This is Ben Grauer reporting, along with Doug Edwards, John Cameron Swayze, and Robert McCormick, alongside one of our camera positions just a few feet from the presidential stand. Under that spacious pavilion, in the sparkling sun and clear cold air of this January day, in about 15 minutes, Alvin W. Barkley will be sworn in as Vice President. Immediately following will come the climax of the ceremony before Chief Justice Fred Vinson. Harry S. Truman, the man from Missouri, will be sworn in as 32nd President of the United States.
The Gutenberg Bible, just in front of Chief Justice Vinson
And Reed.
And behind Justice Reed is walking with Frankfurter. There's Bill Douglas and Justice Murphy, Justice Jackson.
Justice Jackson turned to wink to a friend as they came down the dignified procession in robes, but the justice took a moment to wink to a friend. I don't know that you could notice that on the television screen, but we could hear.
And he was with Rutledge. I'm a little late for that.
It may have been a wink, or it may have been just a bit of moisture from his eye. It's briskly windy here, and the temperature is approximately 34. Was that our unofficial estimate?
I'd say that was a little too high.
My unofficial estimate is 34 below.
I see Senator Humphrey over there from the great, and at this time of year, cold state of Minnesota. He's wearing a top coat, but he's got it turned up around his ear.
I was just talking to Admiral Nimitz a while ago, deploring the cold, and he said it's warmer here than it is in San Francisco, where he now lives. He said his front yard is still frozen solid. Admiral Halsey spoke up and said he bought a warm place in Virginia and had to get a bulldozer to plow the snow away so he could get his car out this morning.
Well, now, everybody that's been expected to take these important reserved, super reserved seats has arrived. They're all filled. Your camera shows that, and a supplementary glance around the presidential platform reveals the same. There's a stirring intenseness in the audience. The peak climax pinnacle is being awaited any moment. In other words, you can see from those vacant seats, the vacant steps there, the aisle is being cleared. Everyone is in his place. And the moment I saw a nod from a Secret Service man to another, and we'll expect the arrival any moment. The appearance at that doorway from the rotunda of the Capitol of the principal personages of this inaugural ceremony. The 41st in our nation's history, the 39th to be held in Washington, the 34th, some records say, to be held here at the Capitol, the first to be televised. There may be a stir and a shout from the crowd, anticipating the arrival of the President and Vice President-elect. Just a little past high noon on January 20th of 1949, the 41st inaugural ceremony of our great republic. The camera moves at random past the presidential platform, the oak lectern, the pillars, Doric columns, out into a sea of seats, centering now on the steel-supported photographer's platform with its batteries of still cameras, television cameras, and movie cameras. On past to the south, with just behind a glimpse of a corner of the Library of Congress, the whole area completely dominated, covered by the yellow pine and white pine grandstands, and beyond the thousands of people standing in the plazas of the Capitol. Police lines have been extended all around this area for hundreds of yards on either side. all variety of colors of passes required to get in the varying degrees of exclusiveness. And I think we'll have the appearance of, yes, Mrs. Truman has just come into the picture, accompanied by her daughter, Margaret. And the audience rises and applaud Mrs. Truman in, you can perhaps see that she's wearing a straw hat. First straw hat of the season, one of the first, and Margaret's in a gay, smartly cut dressmaker suit, going right down to their places just on the right side of the group of 4 chairs to watch husband and father inaugurated as 32nd President of the United States. The very popular Bess Truman and her charming daughter, Margaret. With them, right alongside them, are the home folks, many members of Mr. Truman's family and of Mrs. Truman's family, notably her 2 brothers, Wallaces, and members of their family. This is a people's inaugural, the people's president, the man from Missouri, distinguished for the warmth and simplicity of his personality, shining out through the campaign. And any moment, obviously, you can sense our attention, the audience's attention, the Secret Service being sure that ultimate and last details have been cleared for the moment, for the appearance of Mr. Truman and Mr. Barclay. Up those 6, 8, 10 pine steps erected on top of the good stone of the Capitol building. Through that jam-packed doorway will come Harry Truman and Alvin Barclay, facing 4 years this term laden with deep problems for the United States and for the world, which Harry Truman hopes to bring, as he says himself, peace and prosperity to this land and to the world. I'm going to take a sip of this hot coffee for just a moment, if I may. Thanks, Ted, it is hot. I don't think anyone's notices very much the cold. There's no reason for complaining, except that the wind just cuts across our little observation booth here. And here comes the president. The Marine Band strikes up the president's march. Sergeant-at-Arms Dukes and Callahan preceding Harry Truman and Alvin Barclay. And the following escort of honor with Les Biffle, Secretary of Senate, right behind the Truman-Barclay group. Now we're at the center of the platform, at the very, very heart of the day's ceremony. Harry Truman alongside Fred Vinson. The oath will be administered. First, Alvin Barclay will be sworn in. Justice Stanley Reed, the Supreme Court. Alvin W. Barclay of Kentucky. Just above the Great Seal of the United States, which you see there, is the oak lectern. Yes, we'll have the invocation, which will be delivered by Dr. Edward H. Pruden, the official opening of the ceremony. Just a little sorting out of people and personalities there at the center of the platform. You don't need me to tell you that the president is in the highest of spirits, completely, brimmingly self-confident. Chatting now with Chief Justice Vinson. just glimpsed there, that's Mrs. Truman and her husband. The other lady to the right of the picture is Mrs. Truitt, the daughter of Senator Barkley. Since Senator Barkley is a widower, Mrs. Barkley passed away something over a year ago. Mrs. Truitt is acting as his official hostess. Justice Reed in official robes. President Truman was wise enough, perhaps experienced enough, to wear a little muffler against the briskness of the weather. Many of the other members of the party here, some decided to do it, and glad they did. I noticed that a robe has been supplied to each member of the special group that is within the presidential enclosure. I presume that they're awaiting a signal, probably largely determined by the Secret Service, the protectors of the person of the president, and that everything is in order for the ceremony, actually, the official ceremony, to begin. Thousands of...
Let us pray.
Dr. Pruden.
God of the nations, in whom we live and move and have our being, and from whom cometh every good and perfect gift, we pause at the beginning of this historic day's proceedings to invoke thy blessing upon this beloved country of ours and upon all who serve her highest interests. Grant to thy servants, the President and the Vice President of the United States, all needed wisdom, health, and strength as they dedicate themselves today to the high office to which they have been called. May they continue to lead us as they are led by thee in the ways that make for domestic tranquility and international accord. Bestow upon us, our Father, the happiness which is reserved for that nation whose God is the Lord. Through Jesus Christ, our Redeemer, we pray. Amen. Mr. Phil Regan will now sing the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The singer was Phil Regan. And now we will have the administering of the oath for Vice President. Justice Stanley Reed of the Supreme Court, Alvin W. Barkley of Kentucky. Barclay is doffing his heavy overcoat, broad-shouldered, gray-haired, distinguished, veteran legislator. No
Senator Barclay, please place your hand on the Bible. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me, following oath. I, Alvin William Barclay.
I, Alvin William Barclay,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Very much. I salute
The very words and action of George Washington 160 years ago. So help me God, and bending to kiss the holy word. Alvin Barclay is now Vice President of the United States.
Good morning, President. God bless you. Almighty and merciful God, God the Lord of all nations, the hearts and minds of this nation turn to Thee in this solemn moment in prayer and in gratitude. This nation blessed by Thee and dedicated to the holiest conception of Thee as the Father of all mankind is now being reconsecrated and rededicated in the person of its first citizen, the President of the United States of America. A son of the soil, a son of the people, champion of social justice and civic righteousness, O Lord, he is about to take the oath of his high office, and we pray Thy special blessing upon him and his dear ones. Chosen by the people to be its chief executive, may the people's confidence in him never wane. May he continue to hold the high convictions of righteousness and justice, of truth and peace, which have won for him the people's faith and admiration. Touch him, O God, with Thy divine wisdom, that he may with humility, yet also with strength and high courage, pursue the purposes and noble ideals which have moved him to seek and to win the leadership of this nation. May Thy hand, O Lord, lead and guide him through the many and tortuous paths through which this nation and all the nations of the world must pass in the years ahead. Keep his heart steadfast and his mind single in the performance of the tasks and duties of his great office And may this nation, under his leadership, hold fast to its traditional ideals of freedom and justice for all men. Thus, blessed by thee and devoted to the holy purposes of thy will, our nation shall go forward with unabated strength and unceasing labor in the service of thee and of humanity, spreading light and liberty to those peoples that walk in darkness and dwell in servitude. By thy bounty we have become rich and mighty among the nations of the world. O Lord, make us more worthy of thy blessings, to the end that both leader and people may continue to find favor in thine eyes, and so live and serve that thy glory, thy majesty, and thy peace may abide with us forever. Amen.
The prayer was delivered by Rabbi Samuel Thurman.
President, will you raise your right hand? You, Harry S. Truman, do solemnly swear
I, Harry S. Truman, do solemnly swear
that you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of your ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Harry S. Truman, duly elected and sworn, is the 32nd President of the United States. With his hand on his family Bible, his own Bible. And now the inaugural address.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Chief Justice, fellow citizens, I accept with humility the honor which the American people have conferred upon me. I accept it with a resolve to do all that I can for the welfare of this nation and for the peace of the world. In performing the duties of my office, I need the help and the prayers of every one of you. I ask for your encouragement and for your support. The tasks we face are difficult. We can accomplish them only if we work together. Each period of our national history has had its special challenges. Those that confront us now are as momentous as any in the past. Today marks the beginning not only of a new administration, but of a period that will be eventful, perhaps decisive for us and for the world. It may be our lot to experience and in a large measure bring about a major turning point in the long history of the human race. The first half of this century has been marked by unprecedented and brutal attacks on the rights of man and by the two most frightful wars in history. The supreme need of our time is for men to learn to live together in peace and harmony. The peoples of the earth
face the future with grave uncertainty, composed almost equally of great hopes and great fears. In this time of doubt, they look to the United States as never before for goodwill, strength, and wise leadership. It is fitting, therefore, that we take this occasion to proclaim to the world the essential principles of faith by which we live and to declare our aims to all peoples. The American people stand firm in the faith which has inspired this nation from the beginning. We believe that all men have a right to equal justice under law and equal opportunity to share in the common good. We believe that all men have the right to freedom of thought and expression. We believe that all men are created equal because they are created in the image of God. From this faith, we will not be moved. The American people desire and are determined to work for a world in which all nations and all peoples are free to govern themselves as they see fit and to achieve a decent and satisfying life. Above all else, our people desire and are determined to work for peace on earth, a just and lasting peace based on genuine agreement freely arrived at by equals. In the pursuit of these aims, the United States and other like-minded nations find themselves directly opposed by a regime with contrary aims and a totally different concept of life. That regime adheres to a false philosophy which purports to offer freedom, security, and greater opportunity to mankind. Misled by that philosophy, many peoples have sacrificed their liberties, only to learn to their sorrow that deceit and mockery, poverty and tyranny are their reward. That false philosophy is communism. Communism is based on the belief that man is so weak and inadequate that he is unable to govern himself and therefore requires the rule of strong masters. Democracy is based on the conviction that man has the moral and intellectual capacity as well as the inalienable right to govern himself with reason and justice. Communism subjects the individual to arrest without lawful cause, punishment without trial, and forced labor as a chattel of the state. It decrees what information he shall receive, what art he shall produce, what leaders he shall follow, and what thoughts he shall think. Democracy maintains that government is established for the benefit of the individual and is charged with the responsibility of protecting the rights of the individual and his freedom in the exercise of those abilities of his. Communism maintains that social wrongs can be corrected only by violence. Democracy has proved that social justice can be achieved through peaceful change. Communism holds that the world is so widely divided into opposing classes that war is inevitable. Democracy holds that free nations can settle differences justly and maintain a lasting peace. The differences between communism and democracy do not concern the United States alone. People everywhere are coming to realize that what is involved is the material well-being, human dignity, and the right to believe in and worship God. I state these differences not to draw issues of belief as such, but because the actions resulting from the communist philosophy are a threat to the efforts of free nations to bring about world recovery and lasting peace. Since the end of hostilities, the United States has invested its substance and its energy in a great constructive effort to restore peace, stability, and freedom to the world. We have sought no territory. We have imposed our will on none. We have asked for no privileges that we would not extend to others. We have constantly and vigorously supported the United Nations and related agencies as a means of applying democratic principles to international relations. We have consistently advocated and relied upon peaceful settlement of disputes among nations. We have made every effort to secure agreement on effective international control of our most powerful weapon, and we have worked steadily for the limitation and control of all armaments. We have encouraged by precept and example the expansion of world trade on a sound and fair basis. Almost a year ago, in company with 16 free nations of Europe, we launched the greatest cooperative economic program in history. The purpose of that unprecedented effort is to invigorate and strengthen democracy in Europe so that the free people of that continent can resume their rightful place in the forefront of civilization and can contribute once more to the security and welfare of the world. Our efforts have brought new hope to all mankind. We have beaten back despair and defeatism. We have saved a number of countries from losing their liberty. Hundreds of millions of people all over the world now agree with us that we need not have war, that we can have peace. The initiative is ours. We are moving on with other nations to build an even stronger structure of international order and justice. We shall have as our partners countries which, no longer solely concerned with the problem of national survival, are now working to improve the standards of living of all their people. We are ready to undertake new projects to strengthen a free world. In the coming years, our program for peace and freedom will emphasize 4 major courses of action. First, we will continue to give unfaltering support to the United Nations and related agencies, and we will continue to search for ways to strengthen their authority and increase their effectiveness. We believe that the United Nations will be strengthened by the new nations which are being formed in lands now advancing towards self-government under democratic principles. Second, we will continue our programs for world economic recovery. This means, first of all, that we must keep our full weight behind the European Recovery Program. We are confident of the success of this major venture in world recovery. We believe that our partners in this effort will achieve the status of self-supporting nations once again. In addition, we must carry out our plans for reducing the barriers to world trade and increasing its volume. Economic recovery and peace itself depend on increased world trade. Third, we will strengthen freedom-loving nations against the dangers of aggression. We are working out with a number of countries a joint agreement designed to strengthen the security of the North Atlantic area. Such an agreement would take the form of a collective defense arrangement within the terms of the United Nations Charter. We have already established such a defense pact for the Western Hemisphere by the Treaty of Rio de Janeiro. The primary purpose of these agreements is to provide unmistakable proof of the joint determination of the free countries to resist armed attack from any quarter. Every country participating in these arrangements must contribute all it can to the common defense. We make it sufficiently clear in advance that any armed attack affecting our national security would be met with overwhelming force. The armed attack might never occur. I hope soon to send to the Senate a treaty respecting the North Atlantic Security Plan. In addition, we will provide military advice and equipment to free nations which will cooperate with us in the maintenance of peace and security. Fourth, we must embark on a bold new program for making the benefits of our scientific advances and industrial progress available for the improvement and growth of underdeveloped areas. More than half the people of the world are living in conditions approaching misery. Their food is inadequate. They are victims of disease. Their economic life is primitive and stagnant. Their poverty is a handicap and a threat both to them and to more prosperous areas. For the first time in history, humanity possesses in knowledge and skill the knowledge and skill to relieve the suffering of these people. The United States is preeminent among the nations in the development of industrial and scientific techniques. The material resources which we can afford to use for assistance of other peoples are limited, but our imponderable resources in technical knowledge are constantly growing and are inexhaustible. I believe that we should make available to peace-loving peoples the benefits of our store of technical knowledge in order to help them realize their aspirations for a better life. And in cooperation with other nations, we should foster capital investment in areas needing development. Our aim should be to help the free peoples of the world through their own efforts to produce more food, more clothing, more materials for housing, and more mechanical power to lighten their burdens. We invite other countries to pool their technological resources in this undertaking. Their contributions will be warmly welcomed. This should be a cooperative enterprise in which all nations work together through the United Nations and its specialized agencies whenever practicable. It must be a worldwide effort for the achievement of peace, plenty, and freedom. With the cooperation of business, private capital, agriculture, and labor in this country, this program can greatly increase the industrial activity in other nations and can raise substantially their standards of living. Such new economic developments must be devised and controlled to the benefit of the peoples of the areas in which they are established. Guarantees to the investor must be balanced by guarantees in the interest of the people whose resources and whose labor go into these developments. The old imperialism, exploitation for foreign profit, has no place in our plans. What we envisage is a program of development based on the concepts of democratic fair dealing. All countries, including our own, will greatly benefit from a constructive program for the better use of the world's human and natural resources. Experience shows that our commerce with other countries expands as they progress industrially and economically. Greater production is the key to prosperity and peace. And the key to greater production is a wider and more vigorous application of modern scientific and technical knowledge. Only by helping the least fortunate of his members to help themselves can the human family achieve the decent, satisfying life that is the right of all people. Democracy alone can supply the vitalizing force to stir the peoples of the world into triumphant action, not only against their human oppressors, but also against their ancient enemies, hunger, misery, and despair. On the basis of these four major courses of action, we hope to help create the conditions that will lead eventually to personal freedom and happiness for all mankind. If we are to be successful in carrying out these policies, it is clear that we must have continued prosperity in this country, and we must keep ourselves strong. Slowly but surely, we are weaving a world fabric of international security and growing prosperity. We are aided by all who wish to live in freedom from fear, even by those who live today in fear under their own governments. We are aided by all who want relief from lies and propaganda, those who desire truth and sincerity. We are aided by all who desire self-government and a voice in deciding their own affairs. We are aided by all who long for economic security, for the security and abundance that men in free societies can enjoy. We are aided by all who desire freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom to live their own lives for useful ends. Our allies are the millions who hunger and thirst after righteousness. In due time, as our stability becomes manifest, as more and more nations come to know the benefits of democracy and to participate in growing abundance, I believe that those countries which now oppose us will abandon their delusions and join with the free nations of the world in a just settlement of international differences. Events have brought our American democracy to new influence and new responsibilities. They will test our courage, our devotion to duty, and our concept of liberty. But I say to all men, what we have achieved in liberty, we will surpass in greater liberty. Steadfast in our faith in the Almighty, we will advance toward a world where man's freedom is secure. To that end, we will devote our strength, our resources, and our firmness of resolve. With God's help, the future of mankind will be assured in a world of justice, harmony, and peace.
President Harry S. Truman has just completed his inaugural address. On the occasion of his inauguration, the 32nd President of the United States helped now into his overcoat and accepting congratulations from Vice President Barclay. Chatting now in formal, easy fashion with that familiar and friendly smile we all know and which we see now on our television screens. Shaking hands with Chief Justice Vinson and Associate Justice Reed. Was there in the picture for a moment. And now starting the long series of handshaking, congratulations, and the applaud, cheers of the multitude, which will be his in increasing numbers throughout the day, a day which starts now from the east portico of the Capitol with this inauguration ceremony completed, the inaugural parade and the inaugural ball. We're anticipating some action of the next 10 hours. Meanwhile, the action of the moment is that Harry Truman, standing there in the center of the presidential platform, is surveying the scene. I'll warrant he's also standing for photographers who are anywhere from 20 to 200 feet away with varying power lenses for those historic photographs. Bob McCormick, did you want to add a word there?
Well, I saw Vivian Truman, the president's brother, there a moment ago, over on the president's
In the name of the Father, and of the
right.
Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Let's see if he's in that picture now. I believe
Blessed
he
art
was
thou,
right a moment ago.
Lord God of our fathers, and worthy to be praised and glorified forever. Stretch forth thy hand, O Lord, in fruitful blessing upon our president, our vice president, the members of our Congress, our judges and magistrates, and all those who by our will are entrusted with the well-being and security of our country, so that by thy aid they may be able to discharge their duties of office with wisdom and prudence and justice. Great indeed are our faults, and numberless our needs, but complete is our trust in thee, the God of all consolation, into whose hands we commit ourselves with faith and docility. Bless the people of our country, that they may be governed by thy law and walk in the ways of thy commandments. Endow them with grace to bear one another's burdens, in that generous spirit which befits men in true brotherhood under thee, the common Father of all men. Send forth thy Holy Spirit in the fullness of his gifts to bless us with wisdom, to perceive the ways of thy holy will, with understanding to enlighten the darkness of our minds, with counsel to guide us unfailingly in the path of rectitude, with fortitude to sustain and strengthen us, with knowledge to instruct our ignorance, with piety to fructify in good works, and with reverent fear to deliver us from evil. Multiply, O Lord, upon this nation the manifold marks of thy divine approval and benediction, set up as it is like a sign and symbol among the nations of the earth. Bless the land with fertile soil to bring forth the harvest that nourish us and feed the hungry mouths of the unfortunate who look to us for the necessities of life. Enkindle in our people the spirit of charity for the many whom poverty and misery have reduced to conditions unworthy of the dignity of man. Awaken in the souls of all who call thee Father a hunger and thirst after social justice and fraternal charity. Grant, O Lord, peace in our days, peace in our land, and peace among the nations, to the end that the rainbow of peace and reconciliation may enfold under its serene light all peoples of the earth with the graces and blessings of tranquility. Amen.
Following the benediction by Archbishop Patrick A. O'Boyle, Marine Band Star Spangled Banner, the ruffles and flourishes for the Chief Executive, which now resides on the tested shoulders of Harry S. Truman, the President and new President. You can detect the profile of Justice Reed there, and in the storm of high hats and formal overcoats, other familiar countenances come in and out of the picture. There is the President in his silk hat, moving among the others as he and Vice President Barclay leave. Up the steps, there he is, smiling and shaking hands with the hundreds of friends close, not too close, whom he has here as his guests at his inauguration. All of them devoted to him and his administration, to the thorough expression of courage which has led him through a difficult campaign and a surprise victory to this inauguration. Harry S. Truman and Alvin Barclay. And with speed and dispatch now, the process is reversed as following the President, the Cabinet, members of the Supreme Court, and then the other dignitaries start to leave. Our scene here at the inaugural stand here, the presidential stand at the Capitol.